Stand by SOT1.
Standing.
10 seconds. Ready, rollin'. Ready, SOT1.
Ready.
In 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll in.
From legendary Uncle Studios in beautiful Southern California, welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters, the central location for you employees, you employers, and of course, we haven't forgotten about you damn independent contractors. And now, here's this week's edition of Work Comp Matters.
July 22nd, 2020. It's 12 noon straight up. My name is Steve Appell. Welcome to another edition of Work Comp Matters. We are, of course, as always, brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer. And if you want to pick up their services, I have them. You should too. It's only $1 a day. Work Comp Matters is also brought to you by A1 Law, number one computer management system, 818-357-4120 for your no strings attached, money back guaranteed, $1 a day. A1 Law. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm joined by the madman across the water, John Scalia, as well as my chief of staff, the doctor, but he's not a medical doctor, Mike Zyma. As the coronavirus pandemic shutters businesses across the United States, some of the country's largest corporations are posting huge profit margins. The top 5 most profitable companies in the United States are earning an 11, actually, it's the top 25, but I'm not going to list them all. The top 25 most profitable companies in the United States are earning an 11% profit margin on average, while smaller companies reported nearly a 50% earnings drop on average during the first quarter of 2020, according to an analysis from Oxfam America. Number one is Visa, 52% profit margin. Number 2, Microsoft, 33% profit margin. 3, Pfizer, and by the way, we've got a story about Pfizer today, 31% profit margin. Number 4, Intel, 30% profit margin. And of course, number 5, Facebook, 28% profit margin. Microsoft saw the highest percentage of change in profits, according to the report. It also ranked in at number 2 for the most successful pre-pandemic company behind Apple and ahead of Google and Facebook. And speaking of companies, Walmart apparently is scheduled to invest over $400 million in workers with new round of bonuses. And apparently their stores are going to be closing on Thanksgiving Day. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed deep inequities and massive failures in our economic system, leaving tens of millions of people in the United States without jobs, devastating public services, and bankrupting countless small businesses. Irit Tamur, director of the private sector department of Oxfam America, said in a statement. So Visa, Microsoft, Pfizer, Intel, and Facebook are making a slew of money during the first quarter of 2020. John, what's up with some of the German companies out there, companies operating in Germany? I know I didn't prep you for this, but offhand, can you think of any companies out there that are doing really well during the pandemic?
I don't know offhand, but I would assume there would be the same type of company that you just described. because we have the exact same type of company active in Germany. Frankfurt is, of course, the economic hub of Germany. I mean, Munich is a business hub, but the actual economic motor of Germany is centered in Frankfurt, which is where the stock market is. And we have credit card companies just like that, and we have chemical companies, Bayer, for example. So I would assume that the same company and the same line of work that you just read off are having the same kinds of profit margins here. Basically, they're service industries and pharma industry.
Dr. Mike, been to Walmart or done any shopping lately?
Well, I mean, primarily just grocery shopping. We have been to Walmart relatively recently, although we were looking for a specific item. Grocery shopping, I suppose I should be embarrassed to say this, but grocery shopping is one of my favorite things to do. I suppose that as far as Visa having their profit margin up 52%, it's because of all the online transactions, correct? That's why that number's so high?
I would think so.
Yeah, and I was in the market yesterday, and I was thinking that we should probably do a show on grocery market etiquette. What do people do in the grocery store? What do you not do in the grocery store? What's acceptable? What's not? But I want to talk about Pfizer really quickly, and then we'll go to Mike with the news story, and then John's got his first segment like at the break. Our federal government has announced that it's going to pay $1.95 billion. That's B with a billion, basically $2 billion to Pfizer and partner biotech to secure the first 100 million doses of an experimental COVID-19 vaccine. The payment will be made if the Food and Drug Administration authorizes the vaccine for use. Part of the agreement would give the federal government the option to buy up an additional 500 million doses. The agreement comes as part of the government's Operation Warp Speed program. Thank you very much, Captain Kirk. That aims to secure 300 million doses of coronavirus vaccine by 2021. And yes, Americans will receive the vaccine for free. So Operation Warp Speed with Pfizer getting basically $2 billion for a vaccine that hasn't even been approved yet. John, what do you think?
Well, it brings back memories of the FAA and Boeing, doesn't it? About the great American regulatory agencies being in bed with the people they are supposed to regulate. So guess what's going to happen when Pfizer has $2 billion on the line and the only thing they need is FDA approval? I mean, what kind of rational person enters into that kind of transaction thinking that there's any safeguards in place? Good luck. The vaccine's going to be approved, even if it kills you.
And that's a good point. And very possibly we might boldly be going where no man or woman has gone before. Dr. Mike, what do you think? And Dr. Mike is having a little bit of a complication, but I'm sure he'll chime in a moment. Dr. Mike, are you there?
Do you hear me?
Yes, now we do. Dr. Mike, are we boldly going where no man or woman has gone before with Pfizer?
Well, apparently, as John says, we're just going to roll the dice. I don't know whether there's anything else we can do.
Yeah, you can wait and see if there's an actual vaccine that's developed that works. I mean,
well, we may have more dead bodies.
What?
We may have a lot more dead bodies.
No, you're not going to have any more dead bodies because all the big chemical companies are working on a vaccine. And so you're going to find out which one works. This is saying we're going to give $2 billion to Pfizer in advance. And they may not be the one that may not be the company that comes up with a working vaccine. That's insane.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I mean, the Oxford people have already worked on their vaccine, and the preliminary signs are it's really good.
Well, that's what I heard, that the Oxford vaccine was the front runner.
Yeah, right. So my point is, somebody's getting greased here somewhere. And as I said, once you've got $2 billion on the line, if you think a regulatory agency is going to be able to withstand the tsunami of $2 billion, good luck.
Wow. Did we lose Steve?
I am sorry about that. I am here. I said those are all very good points. He's been with me practically for every show. He's my chief of staff. He keeps me in check and out of trouble at least 90% of the time, not including yesterday, if you heard my rant, but he actually liked the rant. With the next news story is Dr. Mike Zima.
Nearly 10 times as many Bay Area residents had been infected with the coronavirus by the end of April than the official tally at the time, according to a new federal study that analyzed antibody tests to determine how widespread the virus was across a handful of United States hotspots. The study underscores just how deficient testing for the virus was in the early weeks of the pandemic, when the vast majority of cases were never identified.
And thank you. I'm sorry, Mike, were you finished with that story?
Yeah, I'm just antibodies.
Gotcha. John, why don't you read a story? I'll do my regular break thing, and then you can have your segment. Okay, he's the madman across the water. He was practicing workers' compensation attorney for 35 years in beautiful Southern California, practicing the socialist life. But a couple of years ago, he moved out to Munich, Germany, and now he's actually living the socialist life. His first story, John Scalia.
Huntington Beach becomes bastion of resistance. More than any other place in California, Huntington Beach has come to symbolize resistance to many of the coronavirus safety rules government officials have imposed in recent months. I don't believe the rates are rising, said resident Brad Colburn, 58. They're inflated. It's another way of shutting everything down, of the Democrats trying to get what they want. Colburn said he has yet to wear a mask outside of shopping. So there we have it. Huntington Beach, I believe, is right on the edge of the orange curtain. It's the last city, or it's the first city actually in Orange County. It's on the other side of the Orange County.
Why do I think of Trump when I hear that story? I mean, I'm not hallucinating.
I don't know. My name is Steve Appell. You're dialed into Work Comp Matters. We're brought to you by the workcompcentral.com. If you want the number one location for workers' compensation in both California and around the United States, check out the workcompcentral.com. They've got a free 7-day offer. Work Comp Matters also brought to you by A1 Law, number one computer management system, 818-357-4120. For your no strings attached, money back guarantee, $1 a day. A1 Law. Well, it's time for the madman's take. So, John, take it away.
Yeah, this is the 50th anniversary of a very unfortunate, unpleasant, and actually very, very sad memory. On May 4th in 1970, 4 students were shot dead by the Ohio National Guard. Another 9 were wounded. The closest student to the National Guard, oh, and by the way, they were all unarmed. The closest student to the National Guard was 100 yards away. There have been studies done years after, and they all concluded that the National Guard had no reason to fire, that none of the students were armed. Interestingly enough, there was a federal government informant working for the FBI who was inciting violence and was carrying a pistol. And his role in the whole thing has never truly been clarified. The problem is the reason that the demonstration was happening at the Kent State campus was that President Nixon had promised to end the Vietnam War. But before he ended it, he decided that a few escalations would be necessary. So he invaded Cambodia And the demonstration in Kent State was against the invasion of Cambodia, which was essentially a neutral country, as part of the U.S. war effort in Vietnam. I repeat, the students were peaceful, they were unarmed, and they were 100 yards at the closest to the National Guard. Nobody was ever prosecuted for the violence. It was white on white violence. If you see, you can go Google it and see pictures. The guard are all white, the students are all white. Nobody ever got prosecuted. The families eventually brought civil suits and they lost them all. So America, once again, tolerated violence against protesters. At one point, I believe it was even President Nixon who called them bums. I was one of those bums. When America invaded Cambodia, I was going to law school at UCLA. I immediately started to organize a student strike. I went on strike. I went to the undergraduates and preached to them about going on strike. So those of us who did that kind of action, and I had also been at Berkeley for Stop the Draft demonstrations, knew that there was some chance we were putting our lives on the line because it wasn't out of the question. It had happened before. All I can say is that America should learn its lessons. America should learn how to tolerate dissent, and America should learn how and when deadly force is necessary and generally unnecessary. The lessons need to be learned. A civilized society should not be shooting unarmed people 50 years ago and today. And that's the view from this side of the pond this week.
I also, for those of you that do not know, Neil Young wrote a song about the events that John was just talking about.
In Ohio.
I was just going to say called Ohio. So if any of you get a chance, look up Neil Young or Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young and the song Ohio. And
it begins
it's about
with
that.
Dead in Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Mike, you got the next story.
All right. A sustained surge in COVID-19 patients pouring into some California hospitals has alarmed local and state officials and is putting pressure on other counties in the state to prepare for an influx of cases not yet seen since the coronavirus pandemic began. More than 400,700 Californians have been infected by the virus, and 7,755 have been killed as of Tuesday morning. And more Californians are hospitalized with the virus than at any other time. Nearly 7,100 people are in the hospital with COVID-19, and about 28% of those hospitalized patients are receiving intensive care.
Marin County yesterday Marin, thank you, Mike. Marin, I should have known that. Marin County yesterday became the latest Bay Area county to authorize fines for residents and businesses that violate coronavirus health orders. The Marin County Board of Supervisors passed an ordinance calling for fines of $25 to $500 for individuals and fines of $250 to $10,000 for businesses that did not follow public health orders. You know, I got to tell you, as I was saying earlier, I was in the market yesterday, and I mean, everybody was masked. They basically won't let you go into the market if you're not masked. But I went to the donut shop today, and I don't normally go to donut shops, but as I was saying, we had a Zoom depot, and so it's always nice to, you know, get our client and whoever comes in a couple of donuts.
I had two. Thank you.
You're welcome. Although the people behind the counter were masked, half the customers were masked. And I just felt weird. I mean, I was wearing my mask. I expect any business I go, I'm going to have to wear a mask. But it felt kind of weird. Have John or Mike, besides a market, have you been to any business or food establishment that is allowing customers to come in without masks?
No one in Germany. I've been to stores. I've actually been to a department store, bought a suit jacket, I've been to the food place. You know, I buy my own food. I go to a cafe regularly. There is nobody. I have not seen anybody not complying with the requirement to wear a mask. I take public transit every day. Everybody's masked. The compliance in Germany is approximately 100% because we believe that it works. And guess what? It does work in Germany.
John, what would you do if you saw somebody in the grocery store without a mask? Would you confront them?
I'm sure somebody would. I mean, I probably wouldn't, but I've never seen one.
I wouldn't. I would just turn around and walk away. I mean, I'm doing my best to stay at least 6 feet away from people, even when both of us are wearing masks. But if someone wasn't masked, I would just walk away. And I had someone last week who we were in line and he was getting within 6 feet. And I just, as politely as possible, said, excuse me, but can you back up a couple of steps? Because I couldn't go forward. I couldn't go forward. Otherwise, I was going to be within 6 feet of the person in front of me.
What'd the person do?
They backed up a couple of steps.
Wow.
You know, of course, I couldn't tell if I was getting a dirty look because they were masked. So, you know.
Oh, they were masked, though.
Oh, yeah. No, they were. We were in line waiting to check out at the market, but this person was not staying more than 6 feet away. And I just turned to him and very politely, excuse me, could you back up a couple of steps, please? I didn't have to explain. He didn't ask why, but, you know, probably gave me a dirty look under the mask, but tough. You know what I mean? Tough.
All the stores here have decals on the floor telling you how far apart you are. I mean,
yes, that's how I knew he was within 6 feet because, you know, if you don't have decals here, John, then basically you got the markets just using pieces of electrical tape making an X, but it's clearly obvious.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the protocol because there's another aspect of protocol. I was at, yesterday morning, a very active and busy Arco gas station, okay? And
is that why you came into work late, you son of a gun?
Well, I did need to get some gas.
Go ahead.
And there was a big old pickup truck there blasting rap music. Now, I try to tolerate rap music. I really do. I've done my best. But loud as can be so that everybody's got to hear it. And I was thinking, you know, if I had some los huevos, what I would do is I would tell the guy, what, we all have to listen to your music? And then I took one look at him and I said to myself, there is no way in heck I'm going to say anything to this guy. Because
I've had something like that happen to me when I've been at a stop sign, okay? And someone pulls up and they've got their bass turned all the way up or they're doing rap music or whatever. So what do? I immediately turn on Van Halen 1, Eddie Van Halen's guitar, and I blast Eruption. And normally they look at me and smile. Because if I'm going to listen to anything that loud, it's going to be a good dose of Van Halen, damn it.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing, except I blast Mozart. But yes, that's exactly what I do when I'm at a stoplight and somebody's blasting some obnoxious music.
John, what's your favorite Mozart?
Oh, everybody's eine kleine Nachtmusik, you know.
Okay.
Little night music.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and the funny thing is, it's actually sort of a piece of fluff because he actually wrote it for after-dinner entertainment.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, well, John, if you want, you can take the last news story, and unless the doctor has any further desires, I'm going to close the show.
Go for it, John.
Okay. CDSS backtracks on reporting COVID deaths at assisted living facilities. Last week, the state agency that regulates assisted living facilities quietly posted a memo announcing it was going to delete from its website the names of facilities where people had died from COVID-19. The California Department of Social Services provided no explanation. After an outcry, the numbers were back on the state's COVID-19 dashboard Tuesday afternoon. Still, critics say the move was part of an alarming trend of long-term care industry officials having a disproportionate amount of influence on California's regulators. Doesn't that sound like what somebody on this program was saying earlier about the FAA and the FDA?
Yes. Yes again.
Yes again. Yes again.
Hey, and I'd just like to point out, if I may, okay, in pre-production, John was mentioning that the last time we all worked together was 19 years ago, which means that we're all old, okay? And I just want the record to reflect the fact that way back then, John gave me a CD of classical music, which I still enjoy. And these pieces I never would have been exposed to, but for John turning me on to them. And I never thank you for that, John, but I'm doing so now.
Well, I'm really pleased. You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I would say, Dr. Mike, if you ever get a chance, take a look at the movie Amadeus. John, did you ever see the movie Amadeus?
Yeah, I hated it. But yeah.
you hated it. Okay.
I loved the music. I hated the movie.
You hated the story. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I saw Van Halen in person.
Yeah.
Where?
You mean concert or not concert?
Well, what do you mean by in person?
Was he performing or just walking around?
Yeah.
Thank you. Was he performing or walking around? Yes.
No, he's performing.
Okay. Yeah, I have seen Van Halen quite a few times. And for those of you listeners that don't know, they grew up in beautiful Southern California, right in Pasadena. My name is Steve Appell. I want to thank you very much for listening to another edition of WorkCompmatters. For my Chief of Staff, Dr. Mike Zyma, Madman Across the Water, John Scalia, Scott Walton of legendary Uncle Studios, and the WorkCompcentral and A1 Law. We will see you again tomorrow at noon for another edition of Work Comp Matters.